Hello world! I'm Kai Rib. Welcome to my first video. Do you like pixel art and animation? I do too. I'm excited to share with you a great program that I've been using for pixel art. It's called Pixelorama. I'm going to show you how cool this program is and some of its slick features that can really speed up workflow. Chances are you've heard of Aseprite, which is probably the standard for creating pixel art. I'll share my thoughts on how Pixelorama stacks up versus Aseprite at the end of the video. So make sure to stick around. Let's head over to Pixelorama's website right now. First of all, there's a link to the online version of Pixelorama if you want to test it out. Scrolling down, we can see some examples of the program on the right. On the left is a list of things it can do. We got support for animation, image effects for individual layers, various grids and guides to help with drawing, even some 3D stuff. And lastly, it's free and open source. Awesome. Let's download it. It takes us to a page where we have the option to support the devs. For now, let's skip this and go to the downloads page. And here we are. Linux, Windows, and Mac are all supported. Since I'm on Linux, I'll grab that. After it's done, you'll have the downloaded file on your computer, probably in the Downloads folder. Now, if you're on a Windows machine or a Mac, your steps are going to be a little bit different from this point. Since I'm on Linux, I'll show you what you need to do here. Right-click on it and extract the contents. Open up the new folder and there's the app image. An important step that's easy to forget is to allow execution permissions for the app image. It's pretty easy to do. Just right-click on the file, click on Property, click on Permissions, and make sure the check mark is checked for Allow Executing File as Program. Now you have a lot of options for what to do next. You can just leave it as it is and double-click on the app image to run the program. But I'll show you some of my extra steps that I like to do for app images to better integrate it into my system. First thing I do is create a desktop shortcut. To do that, I'll open up a terminal and create one with the Nano text editor. Using this command, I will put the desktop file in my desktop folder so it shows up on the desktop. You can slow down and pause at any time if you'd like to follow along with me. The most crucial parts of this is to point the executable path to the app image location and the icon path to the icon location, which should be in the Downloads folder. Control S and Control X to save and exit Nano. The desktop file should now be visible on your desktop. Make sure to right-click on it and set the permissions to allow it to execute as a program, otherwise this won't work. In order to make the app visible along with the rest of the programs on our computer, we can copy this desktop file over to the user/share/applications folder. That way the computer will know that it's in our list of programs. Then update the desktop application database and we should be good to go. And now we're all done installing it. As you can see, we have a nice desktop icon and it shows up in our start menu among our other programs. Nice! Let's start playing around with it. we're greeted to the program with a nice little splash screen where we've got some options to make or open new projects. And now here we are. The interface is super clean and modern looking. We can divide it into 5 sections. It's not that complicated. We'll go through these one at a time. The biggest one, of course, is the canvas where I can draw my picture. Up in the corner, you can see the name of the project. Untitled is the default name on this tab right here. We can have multiple tabs going at once if we want to work on multiple projects. If you're familiar with other image editing software like GIMP, it works in the same way. Up top, there is the standard options bar like File, Edit, etc. The Effects drop-down has some neat effects, much like GIMP again. The Window drop-down is where we can manage the panels and the layout. And the Help drop-down is where you can find help. About the program, that is. Over here on the right is the Tool Settings panel. The top is the color picker. Expanding this option reveals more options for color selection. The other tab is the Reference Image Manager, where we can add reference pictures right into the canvas, which is super important for drawing more accurate pictures. Below we have the tool settings for the left mouse button in blue and the right mouse button in orange. And this is a really important thing to understand in Pixelorama. Each mouse button can be tied to a specific tool using the toolbar. Blue is for the left mouse button, and orange is for the right mouse button. If I left-click a tool in the toolbar over here, it will get assigned to the left mouse button, and I can adjust the tool settings under the blue tab in the tool setting panel. And I can left-click and draw on the canvas. The same thing is true of the right mouse button. This can make drawing really fast because it's like being able to wield 2 tools at once. Last thing in the tool settings panel is the color palette, and you can add custom palettes to this too. The final panel is the timeline layers panel here. This is the place for adding layers for your drawings and frames for your animations. There are options to add new frames and delete frames. There is a toggle for onion skinning and options for it. Super important for animators. Here are some options to control the playback of the timeline and the frames per second. On the left are the layer options. You can add new layers, delete layers, and clone layers all right here. Well, that's the UI. Let's draw something now. I want to try and draw a Korean castle. Do you want to follow along with me? Super! Let's first open a new project. I'll call it Castle. I'm going to select a 240 by 160 pixel size template canvas. And here we are. If you're wondering why the interface is kind of blue now, It's because I changed the theme in the preferences. Now I want to import some reference images. I'm not sure why, but for them to import correctly, something has to be drawn on the canvas. I don't know if that is intentional or not, so I'll just scribble a black line on the paper and open the files. Be sure to change the filter in the corner to show the file type of the reference images. Now I can see the two PNG files. Open. And we have options for importing. We want to open as a new reference image. All done. Now they are in the manager, and we can select them and move them around. Notice how the resolution of the reference images is a lot higher than our canvas size. That way we get to keep the detail in the reference images and can draw on top of them. That's pretty neat. I'll just move these out of the way for now. To deselect them and go back to the drawing mode, click on the None square. I'm going to start with a background. In the Effects drop-down, I'm clicking on Gradient. We got a lot of options here. I'm going for a sunset, so I'll pick a brown color for the lower part and a yellow color for the top part. I'm going to rotate it a bit so it's going in the vertical direction. You can choose a blending algorithm. I like this one. Looks cool. I want it a little higher though, so I'll go back to the gradient and move the slider up a bit. I'm happy with that. Let's save our work. Let's create a new layer to draw our castle on. The layer that is highlighted is the layer that you will be actively drawing on, so make sure that the castle layer is selected. I'm going to grab the reference images now and move them into place so that I can trace an outline over them. I'll go over to the toolbar and grab the line tool and start making the outline. I notice that the castle is rather symmetrical, so it might speed things up if I enabled mirroring. In the top right, I clicked on horizontal mirroring. It puts the line in the center of the canvas, but I need it aligned with the castle. So, clicking this down arrow, I customized it to be centered with the screen. That's much better. Now everything I draw on the left side gets mirrored over to the right side. That's all the straight lines done. Now I want to add in the curved line sections. So going over to the toolbar, I'll click on the curved line tool. And this thing is really a cool tool. If you work in Inkscape, it's much like the Draw Path tool. Clicking and dragging will reveal these handles where you can customize the direction of the curve. Double-click to confirm the a line and it'll draw it there. Let's keep doing that to the other curved parts of the castle. Making the background invisible kind of helps me see what I'm doing a little bit better. Alright, let's put the second reference image on top of the first one and continue with the outline process. That's the outline. Not bad. Let's start drawing in some details. I'll start with some windows with the rectangle tool. I kind of messed up on the location of these windows, so I'll switch to the selection tool and select and move the windows. That's better. I'll continue drawing in details. I had a lot of trouble drawing the door for some reason. After I finally got the right side looking okay, I selected it and mirrored it using the mirror effect. Looks good. I'll just finish up the outlines. To save a little time, I'll copy and paste these windows to the other side. And save my progress. Now I'm going to start filling in the colors. I'll grab the bucket fill tool. I'm going to choose a gray with a slight yellow tint to match the background for the wall. I'll make it slightly darker for the lower part. I'm going to pick a yellowish brown for the castle. In case you're wondering, I'm using the middle mouse button to pan around the canvas and the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Now I need a grayish green for the roof. I picked a golden color for the windows. The door is just a darker brown version of the walls. Now I want to add the setting sun. I'll select the background layer and the circle tool. A bright yellow color should work. Hold the Shift key as you click and drag to keep it in a perfect circle. That looks neat, but I kind of want the sun to be behind the brown parts. I'll show you a trick to do that. Grab the Select by Color tool in the toolbar. Click one of the brown pixels and see how every one of them has been selected? Now hit Ctrl X to cut the pixels. Next, create a new layer and hit Ctrl V to paste them onto that new layer. Use the Move tool to realign everything. Now switch to the background layer and draw the sun. Move the brown pixel layer over top of the background, and we've got it. Now I need to fix up the bottom part of the castle. I put the pencil tool in the left mouse button and the color select tool in the right mouse button. Right-clicking will now select a color, and left-clicking will draw. Oops, I just realized I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Ctrl Z for undo. Now I'm back on the castle layer. I thought I'd continue the walkway out, but I changed my mind and left the windows in the wall open. Now I'll fix up the other side. Now I'll draw in the doors. And some extra details on the windows. Oops, this window is 1 pixel too long. Better. I'll add a touch of green roof to the corner decorations and save my work. Now it's time to add some shading. This can really make a pixel art portrait look a lot better. Kind of takes it to the next level. Pixelorama has a special shading tool which makes this pretty easy. You can select whether you want lighten or darken, the size, and the strength. Click and drag to shade in an area. Going over any pixel will darken it by the strength amount. I'll darken the sort of shadowy parts of the castle and the bottoms of the windows. Now I'll switch to the lighten tool. Now I'll switch to the lighten mode and do the tops of the windows. And the part of the roof that faces the sun. Now I'll get the shadow part of the roof. I think I went a little overboard on this part, so I'll try it again. Now I'll do the door. Last of the windows done. Now I'll shade the eaves of the roof here. I think this top part would look better green, so I changed it. Oh yeah, an outline in black looks super. Let's shade in the lower wall. And the walkway. And add some highlights to the top wall. I think I can use the shading tool to add some shingles to the castle and the roof. Yeah, save. I think I'm done. How did yours turn out? Last thing before we're completely done, though, is we should export it. Click the Export button. We have a lot of options, but I'll keep it simple and just do Export as PNG. There it is! Nice job! Now we're at the end. So, how does Pixelorama compare to Aseprite? The biggest positive for me is the modern-looking interface, as opposed to Aseprite's style, which looks like a Windows 7 program. If you like that, that's totally cool. I've just never been a fan of that look. Second thing is how both mouse buttons can be set to different tools. That combined with hotkeys makes workflow super fast. Aseprite does do the timeline a little better, I think, moving the frames around. Oh yeah, Pixelorama is free. And even though Aseprite can be compiled from source for free, and 20 bucks is pretty reasonable, what can I say? You can create great artwork in both programs, but Pixelorama is the winner for me. I encourage you to try out Pixelorama for yourself and decide. Well, looks like I'm out of time for today. Until next time.